Hey guys, I'm Jody.
And I'm Justin.
Today we're going to be taking a look at Sweetlands, which is going to be coming to Kickstarter on October 29th, so in a couple weeks. So this is going to be a paid preview.
Yes, it is. And so this game is designed by Totsuka Chuo, and the publisher is Uchiba Koya.
Plays 1 to 4 players, and they list the time frame as 100 to 200 minutes. Now, this is technically still a prototype, so keep that in mind, although a lot of the components do seem kind of finished, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But just keep in mind, things are subject to change, and like I said, it's going to be on Kickstarter in a few weeks. Go ahead and check the description, and for this video, we'll go ahead and put the link for their Kickstarter page. So we're going to do an overview of kind of how the game plays, maybe talk about it a little bit afterward, but keep in mind this is not a detailed how to play, but we're going to talk about a good amount of the elements of this game, and then we'll come back up and chat a bit. All right, here we go. Welcome to the country of confectionery, Sweetlands. Your task is to transform the given land into the most prosperous city within the time limit. Time is tight, so every moment counts in this endeavor. Head straight to the designated land, collaborate with the local citizens, and build a magnificent city. Prove yourself worthy to become the next king of Sweetlands. During the game, each player develops the city on their map board while making advancements on their prosperity track. After 5 rounds, the game ends and the player with the most victory points is the winner.
So there are 4 phases in each round. You have a start phase, an income phase, an action phase, and then a cleanup. In the start phase, you're starting a new round and you might potentially flip over some new action tiles.
So for the income phase, we're going to be getting some goodies. Alright, so there's a few steps. So first you check the round support tile, where depending on which set of tiles you've chosen, there could be some income that you might get, depending on what tiles are out there. Everyone's got to check their character board, because some of the character abilities might have income abilities as well. And then you're going to be producing income on all of your tracks. So every player is doing that, and kind of in that terraforming Mars style, where you have the income and then you get whatever amount for each resource and you put in your little cubby.
Receptacle.
Cubby, receptacle. Okay. And then everyone is going to get 5 more cards. If this was the first round of the game, you will be getting 6. But from then on, it's 5, unless you have achieved the extra draw section on your map board, which you have to build roads and tiles and basically connect to it. Then you can get more cards. After the income phase is the action phase, and there's 4 different things you can choose to do on your turn. You can choose to go to an action space on the main board, you can use one of your flip abilities, you could pass, or you could play a citizen card. And in addition to those, there are quite a few free actions you can choose to do on your turn. And typically they're mostly conversions, like pay gold to get resource or turn in a card to get this. So there's a lot of different free actions that you can take on your turn.
Now, whenever you want to use an action space, you're going to have to pay a certain number of cards. If you're the first person to go to that action space, then you will have to pay 1 card. If you are the second person, then you have to pay 2 cards. And if you are the third person, and I believe there's only 3 spots on each action space, then you will have to then pay 3 cards.
Yeah, 3 at most. There are several places where there's just single use, but no more than 3 per action space. Some examples of some of the action spaces are, for instance, paying 2 diamonds to advance on 2 spaces on the prosperity track. You can take an action disc, collect a diamond, draw 2 citizen cards. You can collect gold. You can pay gold to choose an action area. Pay 6 wheat and place up to 3 terrain tiles. Pay 4 wheat and advance up to 2 spaces on the food track. Pay 4 wheat and place a cookie rabbit token. Pay 6 wood and place up to 3 road tokens. And there's a lot of other actions that you can take.
Now when you place terrain tiles, what you're going to do, you're going to branch out from the initial capital hex. Everything beyond that has to then be continuous from that point. When you place those terrain tiles, they have to go down face down initially, and they have to go into the appropriate color of the area on the map that you're wanting to play.
Yeah, so you can kind of branch out the tiles because they just have to be adjacent to another tile or the capital hex. So you might have multiple different paths of tiles going on. And kind of similar with the road tokens. They have to start from the capital hex and they can branch out. You can have multiple roads going on, but they have to obviously have a continuous road, and they're going to go on the edges of the tiles, kind of like Settlers of Catan. That's kind of where the roads go. Now, with road tokens, as soon as you have one on the edge of a spot where you have placed a tile, that tile gets flipped over and you get to take its bonus. Now, if you had road tokens out and you placed a tile and onto a spot that already has a road token, it immediately flips over and you get to resolve that bonus. Now, there are 5 main types of property tokens. You have the Milk Research Lab token, the Cheese Tent token, the Cream Puff House token, the Brownie Building token, or the Coffee Shop token. And there's also a special token called the Ice Cream Clock Tower that is on everyone's special character board.
So to play a property token, you have to first play it on a flipped tile. You have to pay its cost, and there can't be any other property token on that tile.
And after placing that property token, you can trigger the bonus of that tile again. Yay! And sometimes when you place out the property tokens themselves, that might trigger some immediate bonus effects. Sometimes it might just let you simply move your carriage further along because that milk carton gets moved out of the way. Now let's talk about that industry track, which is another player board that you have. So you have that industry board plus the character board plus your map. So on that industry board is an industry track. And you're going to have this carriage that's kind of going along, stopping off, getting some goodies. But you might have to stop until that milk property token has been removed or built. Once it's built, you can keep going further along and triggering bonuses. Once you made it all the way to that green spot that has that green locomotive, then that green locomotive, yeah, it is green. Mm-hmm. The green locomotive comes out and you have 2 different vehicles moving around on this track, triggering bonuses. Now, the green locomotive will only activate those green bonus squares. The other one, the carriage, only the lighter ones.
Right. And then you've also got the food track, which is simply activating some bonuses, and it might help you to be able to build things for a reduced amount of wood cost.
And right above the food track is the Cookie Rabbit tokens. Mm-hmm. So you have the industry track, the Cookie Rabbit tokens, and then the food track. The Cookie Rabbit tokens are important possibly to get points at the end of the game from the prosperity tracks, but in order to get them out, you have to have reached or passed with the food track marker. Now, the Cookie Rabbit tokens can only go on tiles that have been flipped over, have a property token, and have no other rabbit tokens out there. And as you remove some of the cookie tokens, you might get some more bonuses as well.
Now the prosperity tracks, of which there are 6 of them, you are going to be trying to move your marker along those prosperity tracks because those are going to be really important for your victory points at the end of the game. There are 6 of those tracks, and they're correlating to like the rabbits or the amount of tiles that you have or the amount of roads or things like
and
that.
Buildings. Yeah, there's several different categories.
And as you move up along those tracks, your ratio of how much your roads or your tiles or whatever that track is worth it improves as you go down that track. So you might get 1-to-1 as you move further down the track, whereas earlier on the track, if you don't make it quite so far, it might be 2 or 3-to-1.
And if you haven't even gotten out on the track, it'll be 0. so those can be very important. That's how you score a lot of points.
Yeah.
Now, another action you can take is simply playing a citizen card. There's 2 types of cards. There's going to be immediate citizen cards or pass citizen cards. The immediate ones, for both of them, you have to pay the cost in gold, and then you can do the ability. And then whether it's pass or immediate, you're going to figure it out. The pass ones are going to stay out, and there will be abilities every time you pass. The immediate ones, you can choose to automate if you'd like. And each of those cards will have industry tags, so it'll tell you which industry it goes for, and you'll slide it underneath your board, but you have to pay a diamond, and there's a limitation to how many cards you can have depending on how many property tokens you've built out. But eventually, when that industry gets triggered, then you get to get a nice little benefit, whether it's resources or moving up this prosperity track. There's all kinds of goodies that you can get when you kind of automate cards. And the cards also have tags on them which will be referenced by cards saying like if you have X amount of this tag, then you can get this amount of resources. So there's all kinds of variables with the tags as well.
Another action is using a flip ability. So you can acquire skill tiles during the game in which you are able to then flip those skill tiles over at certain points, and then you can activate whatever is on that tile.
And the last action you can take is simply pass. Now when you pass, you're going to be getting, well, hopefully you'll be getting some city points, industry points, victory points. You're going to be looking at your map board and seeing how many different cities you have. And a city is if you have 3 different types of buildings. And if you have multiple of them that are not connected, then there's, 2 cities or 3 cities, and you'll get city points dependent on that. Industry points depending on how far your vehicles have gone past those industry victory point symbols. And then, some players might have pass ability cards or character pass abilities and pass abilities on the support tile. So there's different ways to get victory points and goodies. And after the 5 rounds is over, you will be doing the final scoring. Now, there are a lot of ways to score points. So I'm just going to list off some of them here. So you got, of course, the prosperity tracks that we've already talked about. That's a key way to score points. There's 6 different tracks there. Then you have the city points. So wherever your city point marker is on this score track around the board, you multiply it by 2. And that will be how many victory points you get from your city points. Then you might have property token bonuses. Every 5 gold is a victory point. Every diamond you have left over is a victory point. The ports. There are ports on your map board. And, if you do not connect a lot of them to your capital hex, you could be losing up to like 40 points. It's bad. But if you connect all of them, you can get 10 points. So there is like this wide range. So you want to try to connect the ports to your capital hex. Then there might be some milestones and final scoring tiles. So there's a lot of different ways to get points. You're going to tally them all up, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So let's chat a bit about who might like this game. First off, this is a long game. Yeah. All right. So if you do not like long games, this game is definitely not for you. Especially with your first play, so going hashing through the rules, first teach, it's going to be extra long. And even if you play with 4 players and like a first teach, just expect many hours. All right, I'd probably say a good range is like 2 to 4 hours, depending. Like I said, first teach, player count. I feel like that's a good range. And this game is like tracks galore. So if you like tracks, well, you might like this one because you have tracks, prosperity tracks, like, 6 on that. Yep. You have your industry track. You have the food track. There are all kinds of tracks.
Rabbit track.
There are all kinds of tracks in this here game.
Yeah, and kind of what we've kind of decided is that it's a bit of a mix between like a Terraforming Mars and a Settlers of Catan and Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah, that's kind of when I played this game, I was like, I'm getting some vibes from all these types of games here. Terraforming Mars in regards to like, your income tracks and how you produce resources, and like all the cards have tags.
Yeah.
So that kind of gave me Terraforming Mars vibes. Then you have, Catan vibes with, the roads going out. And then you have
roads and hexes and all this
stuff. The Castles of Burgundy definitely,
for sure,
I got some of the vibes of that with the map board, how you're laying out tiles on the matching color. Now there's no like dice and numbers, obviously, like Castles of Burgundy, but it gave me some of those vibes with the map layout and placing out tiles.
Now this is also definitely a large box, big production type of game. It's
pretty big.
It's quite large. Yeah, there's a lot in there, and it definitely takes up some space on the table.
Yeah, it's a big production. There's a lot of pieces, and I gotta say, a lot of cool looking buildings.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and there's a lot of different ways to score points. So if you like that type of thing where you got ways to score points like this way and that way and that way and that way and that way, and there's like a lot of different things that you can do to build up those points, this is definitely one of those games.
Yeah. And of course there are those asymmetrical abilities. I know a lot of people, that's like a big thing for them. They love asymmetrical abilities. So this definitely has that, and those abilities have to do with like your starting resources, ongoing abilities, a special ability with that ice cream clock tower if you get that built out. So there's multiple asymmetrical aspects to this game. And I would say there's some variability. You got different characters, obviously. The map boards themselves, you have one side where all of them are the same. If everybody wants to play the same, you have that. But the other side is variable. So you might have different maps if you want to do that. So I would say there's some decent variability. I mean, obviously, because there's different strategies you can take in this game, because there's different ways to score points and different tracks. You can focus on this track or this track. Like, there's a lot of different
Or
approaches
your
to
character
this game.
abilities might
Exactly.
lead you in one direction.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different aspects to this game. But if anything you've seen or any of these things that we talked about interests you, this one might be one for you to check out. And like we said earlier, this game is coming to Kickstarter on October 29th. We'll put the link in the description below so you can kind of follow along the page and check it out, especially when it's gone live.
So we definitely want to thank Uchibakoya for sponsoring this video and sending this prototype to us to take a look at.
Alright guys, well that wraps it up. Let us know what you think about this game in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next one.